Go to Voch Raboisai. Welcome to all the new guys. Tomorrow morning, we're opening the gates. Everybody with 2 vaccines is invited, provided that they show proof. Anybody that had COVID is invited. There's going to be the regular minyan, the 6:30 minyan before, the 8:05 minyan, not 8 o'clock, 8:05 minyan after Shir, Baruch Hu at 8:15. Go deal with him. Today's shir is being sponsored Lili Nishmas Imi Mirasi Rusmas Mordechai and by Rabbi Yossi Klein. What does it say here? Lezchut Mishpachas Eli Stefansky. I wrote that. He said I should write something like that. I wrote it. I didn't put the Reb. Couple quick emails because we're late. This one is by Yehuda Holkauer from Rockaway. This is Yehuda. I'm very much enjoying the shir. See Rav Victor Miller below who says the same shot as you did yesterday about Daitan Kalos. We're talking about women. I was mechaven to Rav Victor Miller, Gevaldik. P.S. I'm a neighbor of your brother, Gevaldik Yid. Rafal. By Avram Zora from Kiryat Sefer.
We have somebody from Kiryat Sefer?
Avada. We have somebody from Moshav Matityahu here, unfortunately. I said we have somebody from Moshav Matityahu, unfortunately. My former boss, who's also the Daf Yomi participant for 35 years, David Bedain, is that how you spell it? Thinks that he solved the mystery why in Hitler's bunker there was a Gemara Pesachim. If you don't believe it, there's some sort of thing going around, that they found the Gemara Pesachim. It's quite chilling that we learned in Pesachim, Daf Pei Zayin, about Am Yisroel being persecuted. Did anybody ever hear about this? You heard about it, Rabbi Shomer? If Rabbi Shomer heard about it, then there's some truth to it. We learned that everybody was trying to kill the Yidden, but HaKadosh Baruch Hu was mefazber them throughout the world. So, Bekitzer, the Reich, 11 million Jews a year. This Zchus gave me further chizuk that I want to share with the MDY family. Keep the great learning energy with the perky humor and inspiration. Perky humor. Best regards, Rabbi Avram Eistakin, Rabbi Avram Zura from Kiryat Sefer. And finally, from the joke, if you got it or you didn't get it, about the 4 Chavetz Chaims, how many Stefanskys do you have to put on the wall? So there's an answer, starting a close answer from Elchanan Pressman. Here it is. If you want to zoom in, you can see he's starting to plaster everything with Stefanskys. All right, Shkoyach. Rabbi Isai, here we go. We have a lot to catch up on. And the good news is that in about a week, Purim time, we're going to much shorter dapim and easier stuff. Ari Pesachim is mamish, gevaldik stuff. Today we are holding Daf Tzadik Amud Beis, smack in the middle, Tanan. If you look at the top line on the Amud, it says Ve'ein shoichatim v'zarkim al tmei sheretz. That's Rav Shita, that you don't shecht if you have somebody that's a tmei sheretz. Somebody that touched the sheretz and he went to the mikveh, he has to wait for nightfall. The halacha is we don't shecht for him, even though that at night he's going to be ready to eat, but right now he's not. You don't do shchita, you don't do zrika. Says the Gemara Yishkoyach. Tanan, we learned in our Mishnah, Zov shirosh shtei ri'iyos shoichatem olav bashvi. Talking about a Zov. So one more time, here's the Zov. You hear? Gary, this is for you. A Zov. A Zov. That's all one Re'iyah is like a Balkari. A Zov that sees 2 Re'iyahs, he has to wait 7 days, but he does not bring a carbon. If he sees 3 Re'iyahs, this is not a carbon, this is a carbon Pesach. When does he bring a carbon Pesach? On the 7th day. So he counts 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 clean days. And then he brings the carbon Pesach even though he's not completely tar. When does he become tar? At night. So it says in the Mishnah, Zov Shirosh Shtei Shechat Hanala B'Shvi. We could shecht for him on the 7th day, even though he's not completely tar. My love, Deloy Tavil. L'chayra, we're talking about even in a case that there's no tefillah. Why? Because if he was toivel, then what's the big chiddush? He was toivel. Even if he wasn't toivel. Isn't that exactly the same case as a tamei sheret? A person who touches a sheret, at night he becomes tahar. Over here also. Says the Gemara loy, the tavel, he went to the mikvah. Itavel my kamashmalan, so then what is the chiddush? Hakamashmalan. Davagav the mechusa herav shemesh. Even though he still has to wait until nightfall. Kamashmalan the shimshim meila arva. No. At the end of the day, the sun comes by itself, and that's why he's completely mutter to shecht. You shecht a carbon for a guy that's a zav and goes to the mikvah. Hachanam mistabra. And now the Gemara goes through some sort of raya. So we have a cheshbon now that we have to do here. Hachanam mistabra. Midiktani seifa ra'a shalish riyos shoichet and ala b'shmini. If a person saw 3 riyos, so we're going back to this. This is the seifa, right? 3 riyos. Now, the difference between 3 riyos and 2 riyos in a zav, what's the difference? The difference is that he has to bring a carbon after he sees 3 riyos. When does he bring a carbon? On the 8th day. So when could he bring a carbon Pesach? Only when it falls out on the 8th day. He can't bring his carbon Pesach when he falls out on the 7th day. Right? If he saw 2 riyos, then he can bring a carbon Pesach when it falls out on the 7th day. But 3 riyos only on the 8th day, because he has to wait a whole nother day to become tar. He has to bring a carbon, and then he becomes tar. So let's talk about that. It's a very simple raya, Rabbi Isai, and we're going to be done with this for a second. If this case of 2 riyos, he did a tefillah, it's trich. Now there's a chiddush. What's the difference between the 2 riyos and 3 riyos? 3 riyos, he has to do something physically. He has to bring a carbon. The mechusa ma'isa, mechusa kapara, lie, because he has to bring a carbon, he's mechusa kapara. Remember that mechusa kapara thing? Mechusa kapara means he still has to bring a carbon. Tvul yoy means he has to go to the mikvah and wait till the night. Lie, I would think you can't bring a carbon for him, you can't bring a carbon pesach, komash malon. Davagav the mechusa kapara. Even though he's still missing his carbon, not the carbon pesach, the carbon for his tuma, he could still bring a carbon, as we discussed, by the way. Remember we discussed the other day, maybe it was yesterday, that he gives his carbon to Bezdin. That's how it, because the Gemara said, well, maybe he'll forget, maybe he'll have an oinus. Don't worry, he gives it, and we said that kohanim, they have a chazaka, that they take the birds. All right. That's great if there's a tefillah. But if there's no tefillah, then why do I need a second case of a guy that had 3 riyos? If a guy that had 2 riyos, he's a full tamei. He didn't go to, we're talking about if he didn't go to the mikvah. We're trying to prove that he went to the mikvah. If he didn't go to the mikvah, so he's a full tamei. You could still shech the carbon pesach for him, even though he has a full tumah and he has to go to the mikvah. The klisha tumah, a guy who just has to bring a carbon, he has a very weak tumah, like certainly he should be able to. You should be able to shecht and throw a carbon. Where's that picture over here of tvul yoim? Remember back in the day, we're learning about this. A guy that's a tvul yoim, he can eat chulin, can eat truma, but once he goes to the mikveh, he could eat truma. It weakens up the tumah. So, el lav shma mino rosh dir riyois bashvi the shachtinon elevei the tavel. So you see, it has to be talking about that he went to the mikveh. Because if he didn't go to the mikveh, then we don't need the case of 3 riyos. Says the Gemara, maybe there was no tefillah of Itzrich. And there's still a big chiddush in all 2 cases. If he went on the 7th day, he could go to the mikveh. It's in his hands. A person could go to a mikveh. He doesn't have to rely on anybody else. It's not in his hands to be magar carbon. He has to rely on other people. So maybe the kohanim won't bring his carbon. Remember Rav Shmaya, about 10 lines down from the top. It says, "Uked Rav Shmaya, the Omar Chazaka ein bezeh shekayanim oinim misham ad sheichlu moish b'shoifros." Remember, people that are tamei, they don't want to wait in line. What do? They put their money, they toss their money into the pushka. They could be certain, there's a chazaka, that the kohen is going to come to the pushka, take his money out, buy a bird with it, or birds, and he'll have the tahara that's required. Okay, weiter, next sugya. V'hazava shoichatin. So, the zava, when do you shecht for a zava? On the 8th. Here's the zava. Slightly different. Zava Gdaila, who saw 3 consecutive days. Unlike the Zav, I hope I didn't say 3 consecutive days, 3 times. The Zav sees 3 re'iyos, meaning could be in one day, he sees at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, that's 3 re'iyos, requires 7 days of tahara. A woman is different. A woman has to have 3 consecutive days of ziva, which is dam. It's just during the 11-day period of ziva, versus the 7-day period of nida. We discussed that. The 7 days, and then afterwards there's 11 days. So she saw 3 consecutive days. That made her a Zava Gdaila. Now she has to count 7 clean days. That's what we do today, 7 clean days. Only on the 8th could she bring a carbon. Tani Tanika made the Rav Adabarava Vahazava Shoichadin Oleo Bashvi Shlo. The Zava, you could shecht on the 7th day for Omale Zava Bashvi Shlo Michazia, but she's not roy for a carbon on the 7th day. Even if you hold that you could shecht for somebody that's going to come tar that night, that's because if you touch the sheretz, you're good to go that night. But if you have to wait until the following day to bring you kapara, then you can't check the carbon pesach for somebody the day before. Says the Gemara, you're 100% right. Let's change it to 8th, not 7th. Pshita. Okay, then if that's the case, then why does the Bryce have to repeat itself? Mao the same. Akivan the mechas for kapara loy. Kamash v'long to the Rav Shmaya. Again, we go back to Rav Shmaya. That you're right. She must bring a carbon, but we can rely on the kohanim. They're going to bring it for her, even on the 8th. Ravina Omar, Nida Tanakameh. We're not discussing a Zava. We're talking about a regular Nida. And it said like this, the same exact thing that we just said, but regarding a Nida, not a Zava. That what? You have a woman who's a Nida, you're permitted to bring a carbon Pesach for her on the 7th day. Amalei, Nida B'Shvi Mechazia. Afil, Madam Shoichatim Bezorkim Atmi Sheretz, the Chazi Lurta, Nida the Shvi with the Tavla, Shmira Dava Sheresh, the Chazia. What's going on? When you have a regular Nida, a Nida goes, okay, if a woman in the week of the 7 days of Nidos, so if she sees dam all 7 days, doesn't matter, she goes to the mikvah on the 7th night. What happens? Then she's mutter labala, but she cannot bring a carbon until the following day. So she can't bring a carbon until the following day. So what? That day, the 7th day, very good. She's going to go to the mikveh that night, but she can't eat the carbon. So why are you bringing a carbon? Why are you shechting carbon pesach for her? The answer is the same thing as we said before. Elohim b'shmini. You're right. We're not talking about the 7th day. You can't talk about the 7th day. We must be talking about the 8th day. Pshita. If you have a Zava has to bring a carbon for the Tumah. A Nida doesn't have to bring a carbon, right? Go to the mikveh and finished. So if she has to bring a carbon, and nevertheless, on the 8th day, we say, we rely on the Kohanim. They're going to bring her carbon. So you could shech the carbon pesach for her. You have to tell her that a Nida, that she doesn't have to accomplish anything. It's in her hands to become tar. Of course you can bring a carbon pesach for her on the 8th day. How can you tell me it's talking about the 8th day? It doesn't make sense, really. Says, yeah, there's a chiddush. Only on the 8th day, you can bring a carbon on the 7th day. We're talking about Yom Kippur here. Yom Kippur. A person, are you allowed to bathe on Yom Kippur? Absolutely not. Are you allowed to go to the mikvah on Yom Kippur? No. But if you're chayav a tefillah, you go to the mikvah. All these people that are chayav tefillah, a mitzayra, whatever, all these people, Go to the mikvah, Yom Kippur. However, a nida niyeledes, tfilasam balayla. They go Erev Yom Kippur. In other words, the night of Yom Kippur, Kol Nidre. That's when you go to the mikvah. The Sanyo Yochel Tevels Miboid Yoim. I would think maybe go Erev Yom Kippur when everybody's still eating, during the Sudam of Sekes, whatever. No. Tamalema Shivas Yom Teibini Dasa, full-fledged days. Tehebini Dasa Kol Shiva, V'Yeledes Itkash Lenida. So I have two things to show you. One thing I forgot. This is very important right over here. It says it like this. A Yeledes, V'Yolda Zachar, right? She's a Yeledes. This is the middle of the pasuk. It didn't have room for the whole pasuk. A woman who gave birth, V'Tama Shivas Yavim, a woman that gives birth, tell me 7 days. If she gave birth to a boy, she gave birth to a girl, it's 14. Kimei nidas devoisa titma. So it says in the pasuk, like a nida. So here you have a hekesh between a Yeledes and a nida. That's what the Gemara just said over here. V'Yeledes itkash lenida. If we know the halacha by a nida, so we know the same halacha by a Yeledes. There's one important thing that I forgot to show you before, and that is the difference between a zava and a nida. It says v'imtara mezoiva v'safra lo shivas yamim. That a zava only has to count 7 days and could go to the mikveh during the day. How come nida doesn't go to during the day? Has to wait till the night, because it's not about counting by a nida. By a zava, it's about counting. So once she counted the 7th day, the beginning of the 7th day, she go to the mikveh. She only becomes tahar at night. All right. Zok the Heilige Mishnah. Oh, sponsored by Official, from Official Catering. The Mishnah, sponsored by Official. Says the Mishnah. Ha'inen. This is where we're supposed to be holding today. Wow. Okay. Ha'inen, a person who lost a loved one. One of the relatives, a wife, a father, a son, relative. And they didn't bury the body yet, says Rashi. V'amfakech zagal. And somebody who's searching, he's in a search team, he's looking through the rubble for a body. And somebody who they promised him, they're going to release you today. You have an old man who could eat, he could chew. So far his teeth are working. We could check for them. Now, al kulon ein shoychatin alei b'fnei atzma. However, all these people you just mentioned, the oinen, who has a loved one that just died, not even buried, and a chayil and a zakin, the whole thing, you cannot check the entire Korban Pesach just for them. Why? Shema yovius hapesach l'dei psul. Maybe they will become puzzle in between. Says Rashi, if you look at Rashi, Dibra Maskal, Shema Yeviyu L'dei Psul, Shema Itma Oinen L'meisai. One by one. The Oinen, there's a very large possibility, a big possibility that he is going to go to the Levaya, he's going to have to deal with his loved one, and he's going to become Tameh. And now you have a carbon that nobody can eat. He's the only one on the carbon. That's why we don't do it, just for an Oinen. Uvakech Gal, Yimtze'eno Meis, and the guy searching for a body might actually find the body, might do oil on it. Maybe they won't release the guy. It happened before. They promise somebody's going to go out, and they don't let him out. It's very possible that the older person or the chayla won't be able to eat a kazayis. Therefore, we don't shech the Korban Pesach just for them. They can be part of a group. Now, because it's Motzei Shabbos, and I just saw this today, a maisa from Mesechtes Klall that I don't think I ever heard about Rebbe Akiva. What does it have to do with this? Absolutely nothing. But it says jail. So it's brought down in Rabbi Yitzchak Zilberstein's Sefer. So I got to tell you this maisa. It's a very interesting story. He asked a question in jail. They made a million in jail, and there's a guy there without a yarmulke, and he's a Levi. Could you give him an aliyah? That was the question. That's how he goes in there. He's not wearing a yarmulke. So he says, he brings this unbelievable medrash, this Mesechtes Klall. He says, it said like this: there's a kid walked by without a yarmulke, and Rebbe Lezer says, oh, the kid is a mamzer. And Rebbe Shua said, he's a ben nida. And Rebbe Akiva says, I'm telling you, he's a mamzer who's a ben nida. So they said, how can you talk like that? It's not the right thing to say. She said, I'll prove it to you. So Rabbi Akiva went to the mother, and he said, I promise you, olam haba, if you tell me the truth. I need to know the truth. She said, yes. The night of the chuppah, it was a chuppah's nida. So her husband was Pirish. So she went with one of the shushvinim, one of the friends there at the chasana. So Mela, a mamzer ben nida. Ma'aseh shaya. Says, all that just from not wearing a yarmulke. But he said, Lamaisa today, they're all, what do you call it? They're Tinuk Shenishba, and he'll wear yarmulkes. You can give him an aliyah. Right. That was the end of the psak, but I thought it was unbelievable. I don't think I remember learning such a Maisa. You ever heard this Maisa by Rabbi Akiva? Unbelievable. Covered the Melava Malka. All right. Again, because it says Beiso Asurim. It's one of those dafim, they have to look deep hard, very, very deep to find the Maisa. Okay, says the Gemara, says the Mishnah. Chutz lefichach im eirabem psul. If the old person, the mefakech sagal, the oinen, if something happened, lemaisa, they're part of a group. They made a carbon paste for them, but they became tamei. Turim elasi pesach sheni. So they don't have to go to pesach sheni. They don't have to make a new one. They were yaitza. They can't eat it. Yaitza. Chutz min mefakech bagal shu tamei mitchilasoi. This guy who finds out that there's actually a body there, he's tamei. Now, we must see Taisus real quickly because it's a very short Taisus. We don't have a phobia from short Taisus. It's a top Taisus. Also, we like the top and the bottom ones. The ones in the middle is something else. How do you know when he died? It's a search and rescue mission. The wall fell down on the guy. Everybody's screaming. There's an earthquake. They're going through the rubble. Then they find the dead person. So Mechet Taisa, the guy looking through the thing before he did an oil over this dead body. Maybe he was alive. Says Taisa, very major yisoid. The Ve'Yesh Leibag the Kim is the Matzoi Meis Islam Lamei Majum Tchilasei Meis. Why? Shekolatumos Kishas Mitziyasan. As you find him, that's how it is. It's very interesting. Doesn't always apply this halacha, but for now at least. Huh? No, he was definitely alive when the wall fell down. That's the problem. You have different chazakas here, different things pulling. Similar halachas to this that we don't pass like Taisus won't say this. Okay, at least over here, kishas mitziyasan. It's interesting. Omar Rabbi Bar Huna, Omar Rabbi Yochanan. Loishon elo beiso asurim da'akum. This is a non-Jewish prison. Ava beiso asurim the Yisroel. It's a Jewish prison. When do you put somebody in prison? When did Jews put somebody in prison? So Rashi brings a number of cases. If somebody injured somebody and they're not sure if he's going to die, we have to see if the person's going to die, if he's a ritzech or not. Different cases. What else does he say? Get. Let's say psula shamamon. That I said already. Yeah. Okay. There's different cases that you put a person into a jail. But if a Jew says, the head of the jail, he says, I'm going to release you today, you can rely on him. You could shech the carbon base just for him. Once he promises, he will be mekayim as avtachat chsiv. She'eres Yisroel lo yasu avlo v'lo yidabru chazov. But goyim, that we said tonight in the song, Asher piyam diber shav. Omer Rav Chizda. Hoda amers beiso asurim da'akum. Lo yamor lo chutz l'choyim es beis pagi. Now, you could have a jail inside Yerushalayim, like within, Bispagi is like the outer part of Yerushalayim, but even if we're concerned they're not going to be Mekayim their promise, you could still do a shchita for a person for one kizayis. My taiba? Even if they don't release him, they'll allow him to eat the carbon pesach. You'll bring it to him. It's outside Yerushalayim, you can't bring it outside. Okay, so if there was a problem, so a guy, Oinen, he's part of the group. Then, even if something happened to him, the Oinen had to touch his father, whatever it was, he became Tameh, he's part from bringing another Karm Pesach. Very interesting. Depends what shape it is. If it's like a cone, a round cone shape, so he has to, in order to get to the top, he crawls over it. Then he's tameh. He most likely had to do an oil over the dead person. But if it's long, elongated rubble, why? We don't know that he's over the dead person. And so there's a suffix. And if there's a suffix, what's the halacha? You don't bring a carbon on Pesach Sheni b'suffix. Tainami hachi, it says mefurish in the Brayz. Shimon ben Yoshua ben Yochanan ben Broik Omer mifakech bagal. If a person is searching through the rubble, itam pater, itam chayev. Sometimes it's pater, sometimes it's chayev. How? Like we just discussed. Ketzad alog oil, galog oil. Then if it's tumatachtav chayev. If it's round, you chayev. Galorach. But if it's elongated, then it's tumatachtav pater. Why? Ema taray b'shas shchita. Okay, shchita, zrika. Great. Zok the Mishnah. Ein shoichatim. Oh. The official Mishnah is sponsored by official, from official catering. Says the Mishnah. We're going to see in the Gemara what it means exactly. Divi Rabbi Yehuda. You don't shech the Korban Pesach on an individual, for one person. That's Shitas Rabbi Yehuda. Yossi Mater, Rabbi Yossi says it's mutter. Afilu chabur shalmeya she'enan yichol lechol kezayis ein shoichatim aleyen. So, if they can't eat one kezayis, says Rashi, then you don't do a shchita. So, you have 100 people who can't eat one kezayis. They're elderly, let's say, in the nursing home. One, you can't do it. So it's about eating the kezayis. According to Rashi, it's one kezayis. You can't make a group, and the Gemara is going to explain. If you just read it, what does this mean? You can't make one group of women, va'avadim uktanim. They're all together, they're separate. What are they? So we'll see in the Gemara. Tanu Rabbanon, you're permitted to make a group just of Nashim, and just of Ktanim, and just of Nashim and Ktanim. The problem is Nashim and Avadim, and the problem is Avadim and Ktanim. That's the problem. You wouldn't know it just by reading the Mishnah. Tanu Rabbanon, Menayin shein shechtim za Pesach ala yochid. Where did he get this halacha? You can't shech, Rabbi Yehuda, you can't shech the Korban Pesach for an individual. Remember we had this. Look what it says in the pasuk. In one of your gates. But he doesn't like it. He says, you have to put a comma here. Because in fact, Rashi explains it better here. I don't think he explained it like this back then. I don't remember at least. Because this whole word is extra. It should say, what's be'echad? Be'echad, in one of. B'sharecha. So the word is extra, so that's why. But the way you would read the pasuk, because it doesn't flow well. So he's learning it, you cannot shech the Korban Pesach for one person, even though that's not the mashmos of the pasuk. The pasuk is one gate. Ignore the gate. So the pasuk, be'echad, period, one. The point is that he has to be able to eat it. If he could eat a kazayis, great. Over here he says 10 can't eat it. It has nothing to do with the amount of people. It has to do with the ability to eat. So what does Rabbi Yossi do with Rabbi Yehuda's bechad? Now, the halach is like this. If a person shechs a carbon outside of the Beis HaMikdash, yeah, you hear? He takes a carbon and shechs it outside somewhere. What is he chayev? Karas. Lav, karas. What if the carbon is not available yet? You can't even bring it in the Beis HaMikdash. And he shechs it outside of the Beis HaMikdash. Are you chayev or not? So that's what he's talking about here. The Zayim Shimon Oimer, B'nayin l'zevech es pischoi, b'bamas yachid, b'shas isra habamois, shu b'loi sasa. Without seeing Rashi, you wouldn't understand what's flying here. Rashi says it's before Chatzos, so it's a major, major point. In other words, it's not time for Korban Pesach yet. That's the Shiloh. it's way before you could even bring the carbon in the Beis HaMikdash. So he jumped the gun, and I want to know, is he over in Isser for shechting outside of the Beis HaMikdash? When? I have a stone in my backyard, I call it a bama. This is where I bring my private karbanis, not a bama gdoila because it doesn't apply here. A bama ktana, a bamas yachid, a small little bama, a little mizbeach in somebody's backyard. How do I know I'm over in a lois hasei? Tamaloymar, loisucha, lizboyach, zapaza be'echad sharecha. That's what he does with the. You want to know what he does with the chat? To teach us this halacha. You're over, even though it's not the zman to bring a carbon pesach, he's still over. Now, what do you bring on a bama? You typically bring on a bama, a neder, a nadava, your own private thing. So I would think that it doesn't apply so much to carbon pesach. So he learns from the Cholei Yisrael, when Klall Yisrael goes in and uses this gate, that's when we have this problem, not when the bama is mutter. Rabbi Yehuda, Haimin Olei, and how does Rabbi Yehuda, you already used up the word be'echad? Says he learns from the simple pshat in the pasuk, sharecha b'chad sharecha, but then also from the extra be'echad. Well, Rabbi Yossi, Memay delach, he called Amar Rabbi Shimon, Dimel Kidek Amar Rabbi Yehuda Huda also. How does Rabbi Yossi know to go with Rabbi Shimon versus Rabbi Yehuda? So Rashi says a very interesting thing here. I thought it was fascinating. Rashi says, it's not the biggest question in the world. What do you mean? Rabbi Yossi picked whoever he picked. He picked Rabbi Shimon over Rabbi Yehuda. He picked Rabbi Yehuda over Rabbi Shimon. What's the big kasha? He says, no. This is like the typical classic Gemara. A lot of times the Gemara, you see from Rashi this side, and you see it all the time. The Gemara asks a question really to get to the answer. It's not a question. The whole Shas was written in a question-answer format. The questions don't necessarily have to be, wow, what about, how did Rabbi Yossi, how did he know to go like this way with Rabbi Shimon, not with Rabbi Yehuda? It's not such a question. It's the answer. How do I get an answer? I can't just say an answer. I can't tell you pshat. So I lead you with a question. Start. You saw it for Shas. Again, how do you know Rabbi Yossi goes with Rabbi Shimon? Rabbi Yehuda also. It says achloi, and Mamela achloi is singular. That's how he learns it. So I have a new pshat. I see. I got to Rabbi Yossi's pshat. Rav Ukva from the place called Parishna. Ask Rava, does Rabbi Yehuda really say? So again, Rabbi Yossi says ish lefi achloi. I could shecht a carbon pesach for an individual. Achloi yachid by himself. What does Rabbi Yehuda say? You can't. I have a question. Stop. Here's the question. You could shecht a carbon pesach on the first pesach, the pesach rishon, the regular pesach, b'fnei atzma. Just read the words. What does it mean? B'fnei atzma. An individual woman, isha b'fnei atzma, all by herself, I shecht a full carbon for her. Who says this? Rabbi Yehuda. And Rabbi Yehuda, you're telling me, says you can't shecht a carbon for one person. Pesach Sheni comes Rabbi Yehuda and says, no, you can't shecht a carbon just for her. She has to be part of a group. Divrei Rabbi Yehuda. You're right. Another time today that we had to say instead of Shvi, Shmini, instead of Atzma, we have to say Atzmon. It means for women, for a group of women, you can't check the carbon for one man, certainly you can't check the carbon for one woman. It means for the group of women. According to Rabbi Yehuda. It doesn't make sense. How do you make a group just for women? But now we just learned in our Mishnah, sponsored by Fischl. You cannot make a group just of women, just of slaves, just of ktanim. My love, doesn't mean by themselves. Noshim va'avodim uktanim. It means together, meaning, the Gemara explains. Noshim va'avodim shum tiflus. Tiflus means an avera. We're concerned about the women and the slaves together being in the same place, eating together. So they're not allowed to be in one group. Ktanim va'avodim mishum pritzusa. We had this a number of times. We're concerned about the goyim. We made certain xeris, right? I forgot now, but ziva by ktana mamash, 1 day old. That what? You shouldn't hang out with avodim and the goyim. They're choshed al mishkav zachar mishum pritzusa. We just turned to Tzadik Aleph Amud Beis, sponsored by Kesher Nafshi.org. Zchus for the struggling kids in pain of Cholei Yisrael. For Refuah Shelayma for all Cholei Yisrael, especially from our MDY family. Please consider joining MDY Tehillim group at tehillim.8mindaf.com. It looks like it started to calm down a little bit. We had a few weeks there. It was like every day, another Refuah Shelayma, another Refuah Shelayma. Baruch Hashem. Poo, poo, poo.
One way or the other,
Lot. Tomorrow's going to be a big day. Rabbi Sai, get ready. The Olam is coming back tomorrow. Big Olam. Get ready. Huh? Gufa, Yeshua's coming back to Eretz Yisrael. He's not going to be here for a while. They're putting him away in a malonit. Yeah, let's see if he gets on a plane. If he gets on a plane, then... For who? For here? Oh, Noshim and Ktanim are allowed. Yeah, I didn't say it. I'll say it. So, Nachamal. Noshim and Avodim, Aser. Avodim and Ktanim, Aser. Noshim and Ktanim are mutter. Right? As I is. I said it before, but I should have said it now as well. Gufa. Welcome back, Menachem Ateh. I love you. Thanks for coming and thanks for piping up once in a while. I like it. Gufa. From you. Don't and nobody else get any ideas. Gufa. Isha barisha in shechetem aleo b'fnei atzma. Ubesheni oisin oisa tfeila lacher in Rabbi Yehuda. Here, we got a chart. Now, by the way, if you see right over here what happened, it disappeared. But I brought it on purpose because what happened was my printer broke. So I decided to go online. Went online and I saw the printer had broken. You take it apart like this and you do like that. You can even wash it in the sink. That might have been a mistake. I washed out my printer head in hot water and I got all these things. I didn't have alcohol. I didn't have stuff. In the middle of printing Yossi Klein's thing, stops. I got the same error. So I got to go back, put it back in the sink or get alcohol. Baruch Hashem, I'm able to get today's charts. Besides the sponsorship, that's okay. I'll be moichel that it's the little guy right over here. It's for me. I'm moichel. We go like this. Here's the chart. We have a Pesach Rishon and a Pesach Sheni. Big Yisoid here. Do women, we got to know this. Rabbi said, do women bring a carbon on Pesach Sheni? So yeah, if Mashiach comes, when he comes, we'll have that whole month to know about Pesach Sheni. Do women bring a carbon on Pesach Rishon? Is there a machlaikis? Not a machlaikis. Here it is, right here on this chart. According to Rabbi Yehuda, they bring on Pesach Rishon. Pesach Sheni, it's a little shvach, it's yellow. They can join a group. I let you join a group. According to Rabbi Yossi, it's very strong. Even Pesach Sheni is a green check. Yes, they bring a carbon on Pesach Sheni. Comes Reb Shimon, he argues completely. He says Pesach Rishon, Regal Pesach is weak. You hear this, Gary? Your wife might not have to bring a carbon Pesach on Pesach Rishon next week. Pesach Sheni, forget about it. If they're Tamei and Pesach Rishon, they do not bring a carbon at all. What does that mean? They can't bring a carbon at all? Could they be part of a group? No. You know why? Because a carbon Pesach is only liminuyov, and if she's not in the parsha at all for Pesach Sheni, she can't eat at all. Over here, we're allowed. Pesach Rishon, everybody agrees she could be part of a group. You could, even according to Reb Shimon, she could eat with everybody by the Seder on Pesach Rishon. Fine. Let's see it inside. So we just had Reb Yehuda. Reb Yehuda says Pesach Rishon, yeah. Pesach Sheni, only in a group. Reb Yossi Omer Isha b'Sheni Shoichaten Olea. In Pesach Sheni, you could shecht for her b'fnei atzma vein tzarich loy ma b'rishon. Reb Yossi says a woman equal rights. She gets the shecht just for herself or a group. on Pesach Sheni, and certainly if on Pesach Sheni, then of course on Pesach Rishon. Reb Shimon Omer, Isha Berisha, Noisa Noisa Tfeila La'acherim. In the first one, he's very, very he says, women, no. Only part of a group as a tuffle, as a add-on to the group. Yellow. Pesach Sheni, forget about it. They're done. Basheni ain't shechin kol ikr. 0. What does it mean, kol ikr? Again, they cannot be part of a group because they're not in the parshas. As Rashi, you have to be nimna l'menuya. You have to be a manu. You have to be registered. You can't be registered if you're not in there at all. You're not in the parish. What is the machlokes? Rabbi Yehuda Sova b'michsas nefashos. You count the nefashos, the souls. It doesn't say what soul. A male soul, a female soul. Nefashos. V'afilu nashim. V'chitei meyachi afilu b'sheni nami. Oh, there's a pasuk that says like this. Kechol chukas ha-pesach yasu oisoi. The second Pesach is identical to the first Pesach. L'chayra. In all halachas. Kechol chukas. All halachas. Second Pesach like the first Pesach. Oh. So if a woman is chayiv in the first, chayiv on the second, why you differentiate? Why are you saying that they're different? Says the Gemara, Ksiv cheto yisa ha'ishahu. There's a word ha'ish, ish in, isha loy. Okay, enochanami. It should be the same, but it's not. Because we have a miyut. So then she shouldn't even be a tuffle. Why does Rabbi Yehuda say she's ish? Ish means exclude her completely. Says Gemara, so you have a problem. You have this versus another pasuk that says ish. So we make a pshara. We compromise. She's not in there at all because it says ish. We can't take her out completely, so you make her yellow. She's not green because it says ish. She's not red because it says kechol chukas haPesach. So what do? If it's not green or red, it's yellow. She could be part of a group. Rabbi Yossi, my timer. What does Rabbi Yossi say? Rabbi Yossi says 2 checks, 2 greens. She goes and she makes a carbon in Pesach Sheni also. The Chsiv Berishain says in the first one, Michsas Nefashos. Everybody's included. V'afilu isha. Uchsiv Pesach Sheni v'nichzan nefesh ha'imi Yisroel. Nefesh, it says over there in the second one, second Pesach. Nefesh means a soul. Any soul, v'afilu nashim. Ve'lo cheta yisa ishahu limutimai. But it says by Pesach Sheni, ish, to exclude women. Limautei chatan mikares. To exclude a minor. Minor doesn't get kares. Rabbi say, a minor gets kares. Where in the Torah does a minor get kares? I need a pasuk to tell me that a minor doesn't get kares. Of course he doesn't get kares. Who asked the question? Taisves. So what's the answer? The answer is, you know that famous bar mitzvah pshetel? You hear that all through Sfiras Omer. What happens when the bar mitzvah bacha becomes a bar mitzvah boy during Sfiras Omer? Ariel, and he said this is bar mitzvah pshetel? Okay. So it started over here. This bar mitzvah pshetel. This bar mitzvah pshetel. Wow. What's his Shabbos special? This bar mitzvah pshetel started with Taisus, started already in the time of the Gemara. And the question is, what happens if a kid becomes bar mitzvah between the first Pesach and the second Pesach? The same shail of Sfiras Omer, but b'neged to Karban Pesach. We don't have that question today, unfortunately, because we don't have Karban Pesach. But that's where the question started. And that's what the Gemara is saying, that kid doesn't get kares. He's bar mitzvah already. You're asking, he's not bar mitzvah. A kid never gets kares, of course. No, he's bar mitzvah already. He was a katan by Pesach Rishon. But today he's a gadol. Does he get kares? Lemute katan mekares. He doesn't get kares.
Someone asked on the chat, if Mashiach comes after Pesach Rishon, are we katan from...
Ooh, that's a Gemara. I'm pretty sure we're going to learn it.
It's Korban Tzibur issue, right?
No. What's the answer? I learned it. Yeah, can't. The whole tzibur cannot do Pesach Sheni. I think that might be the answer.
Why did he come so late? He's coming before.
He's coming before. What if? Who asked this kfira? Who's this kofer? Knock out that kofer. What do you mean Mashiach coming after Pesach? We're already talking about it. He's coming now. He's ruining the whole mood, this guy. Okay, no. We have to know. Chas v'shalom, if somebody does a crazy thing, I don't know, make a big chil Hashem or something. Says the Reb Shimon. Now, we're holding by the last sheet to right over Reb Shimon. He says, Oyvei for women, they barely make it into the first Pesach. As a group, they'll make it in. Second Pesach, no. So what's his pshat? Ksib barishon ish. Ishin, ishaloi. There's an exclusion already. It says ish. If so, it says ish. So how could she be part of the group? But at the end of the day, it says in the pasuk nefashis, a nefesh. She's a nefesh. She's part of the group. So again, we have a stira. It says ish. It says nefashis. What do? We give her a parav. We say you're part of a group. So if so, she should be part of the second. Why did you give her an X? You said red. She's not part of Pesach Sheni. Why not? Pesach Sheni is identical to Pesach Rishon. The same problem that we had before. She should be chayiv in Pesach Sheni. She should be part of a group though. Says the Gemara, okay, again, we have the word ish, ishin, ishaloi. And what does it come to exclude? Well, what does it come to exclude? Why do I need the word ish? Says the Gemara, very pashut. The Gemara is just explaining. What's this ish? Before, we didn't exclude her completely because it said ish. Now we're also excluding because she can't be any better. Pesach Sheni can never be better, more powerful than Pesach Rishon. You agree to that, right? And in Pesach Rishon, she's just part of a group. So when the exclusion comes to say ish and not a woman, it must be that even from a group, she's excluded. She's not mechuyev. She's only part of a group. So in the second Pesach, of course she's not mechuyev. She's just part of a group. Elalav mitzvah just telling she can't even be part of a group. Umay ish the Kalmar Reb Shimon. Inema v'yikulem ish sela beis aves. Which ish is he referring to? This pasuk ish sela beis aves. Each man should take a seh. A general halacha in Shas, that in order to do shlichus, in order for somebody to do a mitzvah for somebody else, you have to be a man. In order to do other things for other people, you have to be a man. You can't be a minor. How do we learn it? So it can't be that pasuk. So again, it's a lashon yachid. So on Amud Aleph, I forgot to point it out. But believe me that on Amud Aleph, when we had the Bechad Shorecha, remember that pasuk, Bechad Shorecha, only one, so Rabbi Yossi held like Rabbi Shimon there. And Rabbi Shimon nami savala Rabbi Yossi. So therefore, Rabbi Shimon is going to have to hold like Rabbi Yossi. If Rabbi Yossi holds like Rabbi Shimon holds like Rabbi Yossi. He already used it up. This is the word ish and achloi. Achloi is a yachid, ish is a yachid. So we learn two things from it. Keman azla adam Rabbi Lazar, isha berishon chayva, ubesheni rishus, v'doiches haShabbos. Okay, let's look at this for a second. Well, we don't have to look at it now, but we could. Fine. Isha berishon chayva. Who says chayva? Two people. Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Yossi. Isha berishon chayva. Okay, so far so good. Ubesheni rishus. The second one is a rishus. That has to be this yellow, because over here, according to Rabbi Yossi, it's not rishus in Pesach Sheni. According to Rabbi Yossi, it's a chiyuv gomer. So if I ask you, who does it go according to? Must be Rabbi Yehuda. But the only thing that we need to fix here is v'doiches haShabbos. It pushes off Shabbos. Rishus amad doiches haShabbos. This Rabbi Yossi pushes off Shabbos. If you're chayiv, you push off Shabbos. But if you feel like doing it, you don't feel like doing it. This yellow, this in between, it doesn't push off Shabbos. Elaima, once again today, B'sheni Rishus u'berishon Chayva, the opposite. The Rishon part of Chayva v'doiches Shabbos. What pushes off Shabbos? This, right over here. Rabbi Yehuda and Pesach Rishon pushes off Shabbos for a woman. Kiman, who does it go according to? Ki Rabbi Yehuda. This is Rabbi Yehuda. Om Rabbi Yaakov, Om Rabbi Yochanan. Ein oisim chabur shekulo geirim. You don't make a chabur. This is the get to us, Rabbi Isai, I believe. I didn't make a psak. I think we're like Gerim. You don't make a chabura of a bunch of Amaratzim. I'm talking about myself. My chabura, if you're going to come to my chabura, I'm going to bring a Talmud Chacham in there. You don't make a chabura of Gerim. Why? Shema yidaktiku boy v'yivu l'dei psul. You see this even b'zman hazeh. There's certain groups of people, not so learned, and because they're not so learned, they're so makbid. They go a little bit overboard. They don't have a messiah from their parents, whatever it is. They just go and go, oh, I think this is possible, this is straight, this is this. I was with a family, Maisa Shahaya. I was with a family, I hope he's not watching. A family, a full family, 7, 8 kids. They were sitting next to us the entire Shabbos in a hotel. It was like a Chafetz Chaim hotel. And they didn't realize the hechsher. And they didn't eat anything the entire Shabbos. Zero. Not even the challah. They wouldn't allow their kids to eat the challah because they said the challah needs to have stickers on it that says it comes from a certain bakery. And this challah, but it's challah. Where did it come from? The Arab? We're not allowing our kids. They sat there and they had croutons because the croutons had a badatz on it. And I'm not exaggerating. To do this to your kids comes from this kind of Gemara. Sometimes people are super machmir for the wrong things, and we're worried, we're concerned that they're going to take this Korban Pesach and chuck it out. They're too frum for the Korban Pesach. So you need to put somebody that knows halachas in there. What does Taisa say? Let's see. Oh, yeah. Taisa is mechulik, but Rashi says that they are medactic. Yeah, he said that. Omar Rabbi Yehuda, he pointed out, if you didn't hear, because it's on Zoom, Menachem Ateh points out, Taisa says a different shot. Because we see throughout Shas that Gerim are like a thorn in Klall Yisrael. So Taisa points out that he learns differently. The Gerim are not medactic. That's why the opposite. Okay, fine. I like Rashi's shot better. Otherwise, I won't have that ma'aser from the hotel. Omar Yaakov, Omar Rabbi Yochanan. Einoizim chabura shekolim Gerim. Fine, we said that. Tana Rabbana. Pesach umatzah umaror berishoin chayva. The first night is a chayv. Mikan ve'elach rishus. What's going on here? What? Maror on the third day of Pesach is rishus. Okay. Reb Shimon Omer, ba'anoshim chayva u'benoshim rishus. Only men, women not. They're not chayiv. Ahayakoi. What's going on here? Eli Pesach. What he says, women are not chayiv. This is Reb Shimon. Now, if you look at Reb Shimon, what does Reb Shimon say? He actually says women are rishus. Korban Pesach on the first Pesach rishus. Okay. Eli Pesach Kushiva Miyika. But it doesn't make sense that he's talking about Korban Pesach because there's no Korban Pesach on the second day. It's also to eat Korban Pesach on the second day. You can only eat it until whatever, Chatzos, the first night. Vela Matzumar. He's talking about Matzumar. Okay, Ema Seifa. Reb Shimon Omer, Ba'anoshim, Chayvo B'noshim Rishos. Reb Shimon says that what? There's a chiyuv to eat matzah and maror all Pesach long. Lezer Reb Shimon Hod Omer, Lezer Noshim Chayos B'achilas Matzah Dvar Torah. Shenem El Yisroel Lo Chometz Shivas Yomim Techel of Matzahs. He's asking a different question. It says Mefurish. Rebbe Lozer says that Noshim, women, are chayivim matzah midaraisa. Right, today, maror is a shayla. Women are chayiv, you chayiv in the matzah daraisa, but maror is a shayla. It could be it's the rabbanon. Kol sheishnu b'al toichal chometz, yeshnu b'kum machol matzah. And if you're chayiv in chometz, you can't have chometz. You're chayiv. We had this in the beginning of Masechta. You're chayiv in matzah. V'ani noshim yeshnu b'al toichal chometz, yeshnu b'kum machol matzah. It goes together. Matzah maror. So if women are chayiv in chametz, they're chayiv in eating matzah. Chayiv in eating matzah, chayiv. So why are you telling me that a woman is potter? It's only rishus for her to eat by the seder matzah. Eloima pesach matzah mar berishayin chayva mikan ve'elach rishus. That's the Tanakama. Reb Shimon Omer pesach ba'anoshim chayva b'noshim rishus. He's referring to on the first day that for men there's a chiyuv and for women it's a rishus. Have a wonderful week. Mazel dikavach, a freich dikavach, a Torah dikavach, or Refuah Shelayma dikavach. We'll see you a Purim dikavach, la'Yehudim ha'Yisrael dikavach, and we'll see you tomorrow, Beis Hashem, in like 10 hours or so. Yaval, it's great to see you, Hillel. I thought it's Yeshua for a second. That's right. Yaakov Rosner, Shalom Aleichem. Oh! Rabbi Bernard, were you there in the beginning of the shir, or it didn't work out? 5 issues in the house. Wow. Reb Chaim Snow, Shalom Aleichem. Long time no see. We have to discuss it, but there's regular shir. What? Turn on. Oh. I gotta go on Zoom. I can't. Come here, Static. Say hello to everybody. Say good Voch to everybody. Voch. He has a kasha. What's your question? Quick, before they ask me.
So, are you saying if he's a tall man, he's allowed to take carbon? If he's suffering,
What, on the first Pesach or the second Pesach? Safek Tameh. Was it Rosh Hashanah or Rosh Hashanah? Because in Rosh Hashanah, Safek Tameh is tar. In Rosh Hashanah is Tameh. Great to see you. Look at this. Your shas is being used every day. Oh, he's doing great. He's doing amazing. Yeah, he's perfect. Yeah. Yankee from London, what's going on? You guys were able to make it on the shir on time?
Not on time, 2 minutes late.
We started very late. We had technical difficulties in the beginning. Mr. Kornbluth, I think you need to come to Beis Medrash tomorrow for good old time's sake.
I'll hope to come to Shemesh for Purim.
Oh,
See the kid.
all right, it's going to be beautiful. And you're vaccinated and everything? Beautiful. I'm looking forward. I miss you. I really do. The older guys, the Chabura, the way it used to be. Hillel, when are you coming?
Having my next the last 2 months.
Ay. Where were you? Whoa. Even I got my second chisun.
I had to get here from my doctor before and I couldn't get hold of him.
Because of your thing. I hear. I'm not doing. Every year I have a big party. Not this year. Am I what? What was the question? What do you ask? No, I didn't understand what you asked. What do you ask?
I want to come get Mishlach Monas in Purim.
Yeah. Mishlach Monas, yeah. Be'ezer Hashem, I should be there. I'll be there. I might have a bouncer, but we'll let you in. I gotta go. Avada. There's gonna be a list with pictures. He'll look. He'll say, "Okay, you can come in."
You're gonna have to scan the barcode.
Anybody? What's going on with Fivish? He looks like he's in a good mood. What's going on with him? Anybody?
Very depressed.
What happened? Oh, Yarati Al Gary. Lo, זה לא היה בסדר. He was staring the shears.